Well, it was a pleasure to have Chuck Swirsky on the show, and make sure you guys check out the archives or stay tuned throughout the entire episode of the Sports Cubicle with the marvelous one, Dan Marver, Devin Tingle, Paul Chivari, and myself to check that conversation out. But while that was a wonderful conversation, that was a wonderful time with the Bulls, with the organization, with the team on the West Side. And it was a nice victory over the Denver Nuggets. And it has been a tough go for the Chicago Bulls, who are 6 games under 500 as of this recording. But as of this recording, a Woj Bomb was dropped in the city of Chicago, and Adrian Wojnarowski had this to say: there is growing possibility that Chicago Bulls guard Lonzo Ball will need a third surgical procedure on his left knee that likely will require another 6 months of recovery and rehabilitation, sources told ESPN on Thursday. Ball, who hasn't appeared in the NBA game since January 14, 2022, has been ruled out for the 2022-2023 season and has undergone 2 surgeries on that troublesome knee in the past 14 months. The belief is that a third surgery is likely necessary to give the former number 2 overall draft pick his best opportunity to play again, sources said. The Bulls and Bulls representatives with Clutch Sports are working together and consulting with specialists before a final decision on surgery is made, sources said. But procedure sometime this month would further delay the possibility of Ball ramping up for return next season. And you guys can check out that entire article over at ESPN.com. Adrian Wojnarowski making the big news dump, the big news, breaking news of Lonzo Ball needing another surgical procedure on that knee, the third one. And what went from just discomfort, from a normal procedure, from all the different talking points to this moment now, Marver, where a kid who tries hard, who plays the game the right way, who has a lot of intangibles and abilities that anybody would want on their roster, and it just looks like another derailment is going to stifle the career of Lonzo Ball. What did you think when you heard this Woj Bomb?
This borders on medical malpractice as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't know. I mean, normally you fix it the first time, don't you? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not a doctor, but I've never heard of it. You need to go in there 3 times to correct a single problem. So I'm puzzled about the whole thing. But we got Beverly. He's taking Ball's plays, kind of. So and now it's just sad. They're not going to even make the expanded playoffs, it looks like. But the Ball situation is I don't understand it. Do you? I mean, it baffles me why we need a third surgery.
It's one of the most complex things. And honestly, there's so many levels to look at this, right, Marvel? It's like, obviously, we feel bad for the individual themselves, because there's a chance that his career could really be could be done, could be derailed. This could be a Brandon Roy situation. This is something that it could be affecting the nerves. And the best case scenario is that they're doing this surgery not to explore, right, but to fix, that they finally found the problem to his discomfort. And I don't know if they're going to get there. And I really want to, before we continue on this conversation, because I know there's conversation of when we talk about sports and we talk about these moments, and we have to keep in mind the humans behind it, but there's also the business. And I know some people are wondering about buyouts and what you do with contracts and whatnot. And this comes from Bobby Marks over on Twitter. There is no benefit now for Chicago to petition the league with regards to a possible Lonzo Ball career-ending injury. 1, the Bulls are still responsible for $40+ million of salary owed. And 2, despite his salary move from the cap, Chicago would still be up against the cap space this offseason. So there really is no benefit for the Bulls to go and try to get rid of this contract. There is no benefit when it comes to the optics of not trying to help out Lonzo during this time. And this goes back to kind of the curse that a lot of Bulls fans go back to, of the point guard, from Jay Williams to Derrick Rose and to now Lonzo Ball. Marver, there is no way. I don't think Lonzo plays next season at the very least. So there's no way the Bulls can go into this offseason with any plans of him being the starting point guard. But if you're up against the cap, what can they do?
Free agent. But if they get rid of some money, that's the solution, it would appear to me. But it's a situation that is baffling, as I continue to say. But they need. I don't care if it's a point guard or any kind of guard. Somebody can shoot 3-pointers.
Yes.
so that's what I'd like to see. So I don't. And look, if people leave, which is possible, then they'd have more cap space. And I don't think that You think all the big three is going to still be there next year? I don't.
I don't think so.
Space.
No, I mean, right. And you bring up the big three and the cap space. I just don't know what the value of these guys are. Like, look, we've seen Zach be that dude, but you need to build around Zach, and DeMar isn't. I like DeMar. Everybody who doesn't like DeMar, right? But he obviously doesn't fit that type of style. And the team just sits around and watches DeMar do DeMar things. And while that may work for certain levels of a team, that doesn't work for a team that's middling right now. And I think you bring up a great point of free agency. My question to you is, what were they doing then? If it's all about the big three and putting yourself in position, why is Vooch still on this team? How did Zach get this max contract? You weren't able to find a contender to take DeMar? Like, I don't understand what AK and Eversley were thinking this trade deadline.
We expected some move to be made, but that was not the case. I mean, for all we know, he tried, and it wasn't a suitable match. And you don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but they stuck with what they got, and they've gotten worse. Actual point of fact.
You bring up the 3-point shooting. That's Lonzo was a big part of that, and how when he played, they had a better 3-point percentage as a team and as he had as an individual player. They don't have that right now. They don't shoot enough threes. And I like when Kobe decides to just go crazy and just shoot from anywhere, because the team needs that. And this is an opportunity for Ayo, for Kobe. One of these guys isn't going to be on the squad next year. So this is a chance for one of them to put themselves in a position of being a starting point guard. But I think we've seen this, right? Like what a Devin Booker, a Chris Paul, a Steph Curry, a Ja Morant, just go down the list, a Donovan Mitchell, like the 1-2, the point guard shooting guard mix, and somebody who's able to set up the offense but also be a threat. If you can find the unicorn of a Giannis or a Joker or Embiid, that's what you need to find. And I don't think the Bulls have any of that. And I think that's what is going to worry a lot of Bulls fans heading into this offseason. But, the Bulls are still on the outside looking in the play-in. They're game back. They don't have the tiebreaker anymore. As of this recording, 6 games below 500. Marvelous. This news comes out about Lonzo, and they don't have a protected draft pick unless it's a top 4. So I guess my thinking of all this, what would you do? Do you just play ball and try to make the play-in, make a run, whatever you can? Do you tank and hope for 9% that a lottery ball falls your way? Or, what do you do?
Yeah. It seems to me in college, the Sumno did shoot 3-pointers, and Caruso's a 3-point shooter too. So I don't know what the deal is. And Kobe White, Devontae Green, some of these guys have a history of 3-pointers, even Dalen Terry for that matter. So it doesn't make any sense. Dalen Terry is advertised as a shooting guard, so is Devontae Green. So those are the guys that are supposed to be, making the outside shot. So it's baffling. But right now, what was the formula when they did well at the beginning of last year? There isn't much difference in the team. Was maybe Ball was there? Was he there at the beginning of last year? Did that make a big difference? I don't know. Mm-hmm. So the question is, how they beat a Denver team, which isn't a bad team, and they need to just do better than 500 ball the rest of the year, and they can get a spot in a possible one and done situation, which is sad, but that's the best you can hope for right now, I think.
I think Chicago sports fans, when it comes to draft lotteries, when it comes to opportunity, we used up our good fortune. We used up our lucky token with the Bears getting the number 1 pick. I don't think the Bulls are in any position. It just doesn't work that way to get the number 1 pick, to win the sweepstakes for Victor Wembanyama. And, there's a lot of good college players, and we're going to see a few of them throughout March Madness, but they put themselves in a bad position with bad trades and with tampering. And now they're in a position where I think you can only play ball and let the chips fall where they may. Maybe you're the 10th seed. Maybe you end up in the lottery and you don't get a top 4. Maybe you do, but you don't get to choose anymore. You don't get to choose your destiny. All you can do is play ball. And we've seen enough, I think, of this team to know that at the very best, they're a 500 team. At the very worst, this is who they are. And I think that's a bummer. But Marvelous, any final thoughts on this day and when it comes to kind of the basketball news you've heard? Even Jim Boeheim is retired and March Madness is around the corner. What are your final thoughts on a day of basketball?
Well, March, my whirlwind tour of all the different games that I go to, a lot of them in college and high school, but in the pro scene, I mean, right now the Bulls are a game ahead of the Pacers, even for 11, and and 3 games ahead of the Magic, who's in 13th. So, I mean, we're looking up. I mean, you got to pass either the Wizards or the Raptors and let any of these other teams I just mentioned pass them. The Hawks are number 8 and they're 33-33, and the Bulls are 6 under 5. So it's an uphill battle, and if they get in that playing, then if you're in the bottom spot, you only get one chance. You have to win 2 games to get the number 8. If you're the bottom spot, number 11, because 10 would play 11, and then the winner of that plays the loser of 8-9 to get. So that's just crazy. But we'll see what happens. I mean, they have the potential to actually get into the playoffs, because they're not really out of it at this point. They're a game behind the Wizards. So I'm just hoping for the best. I think that they might sneak in there yet. I'm just an optimist.
I mean, I would so much rather watch playoff basketball than them give up a not top 4 draft pick. So I'm with you on that. Yeah. Either way, I just think the unfortunate thing is, right, they don't get to choose which direction they go in.
No, I mean, they're not going to fall behind the Hornets or the Pistons.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, so they're not going to get a top pick, and even if you look at the Rockets at 15 wins and the Spurs at 16, so those are the 2 bottom feeders on the other side. So those are your bottom 4 right now, without question. So I like to look up. I like to be an optimist. The glass is half full.
The forever optimist that is the marvelous one, yeah. Dan Marver. But we want to know your thoughts on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. Lonzo Ball has been diagnosed with some more bad news, and it looks like he will be having a 3rd surgical procedure, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. Does he play another game as a Chicago Bull? What does this mean for the future of the Bulls at that point guard position? We want to know your thoughts. We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. For the marvelous one, Dan Marver. For Devin Tingle. For Paul Chivari, I'm Mike Mercado.